Hi everyone, welcome to math video number 16. Today we're going to be learning about SOL 4.5C and D. So it's all about adding and subtracting decimals, and we're also going to be looking at some story problems where we have to add and subtract decimals. So the first thing we need to talk about is how to line up our decimals when we're trying to add and subtract, because guess what? That's probably the most important thing. So the problem on our screen says, what is the difference between 2 and 5/10 and 765 thousandths? Okay, I see a really important keyword to let me know what I'm going to do with these two decimals, and that is difference. We know that we're going to be subtracting those. So let's play a little game of yes or no. I'm going to line the decimals up, and you're going to tell me if I line them up correctly or not. How about this? Did I do it correctly? Nope. This is not the right way. Okay, let me try again. How about now? Is this the correct way? Nope, that's not right either. Okay, now let me try to think. How about this? Is that right? I sure hope you don't think that's right. Okay, how about this one? Do you think this looks right? Yes, this is the right way to line up decimals when you're going to add and subtract them. You have to line up those decimals right on top of each other, just like we do when we compare them. So you want to line up the decimals, and then you can go ahead and what you're going to notice is that there's blanks, right? It kind of looks kind of funny because there's just blanks above these numbers. So what you want to do is just fill in the blanks with some zeros. Those are just placeholders. Okay, we're going to put the zeros in, and then it looks a little bit easier, doesn't it? And then you're just going to simply begin to subtract like you would any other number. Okay, so I can't subtract 0 minus 5, so I need to borrow. This guy has 0, so I need to borrow from here. Okay, let's start that process. I'm going to borrow from him, give it to the hundredths place, borrow from him, give it to the thousandths place. Okay, so I'm going to say 10 minus 5 equals 5, 9 minus 6 equals 3. Well, now I can't say 4 minus 7, so I'm going to have to borrow from the ones place. Okay, now I can say 14 minus 7 equals 7. I'm going to bring that decimal down in the same exact place, just straight down. And then I'm going to say 1 minus 0. And that's my answer. 1 and 735 thousandths. That's the difference between those two numbers. All right, so let's look. What if the question was, what is the sum of those two same numbers? Well, you already see that there's a key word, right? Sum. So I think you know what we're going to do there. But this time I don't have graph paper to use. So a lot of times we use graph paper to line up our decimals, but what if you don't have graph paper? Well, you can grab any old piece of line paper just like this and do this. Bam! Turn it on the side, and then you're going to use those lines to help you keep all of your place values in the right place. Okay, so like I said, we're going to find the sum of these two numbers, so I know we're going to be adding. So I'm just going to start putting in my digits. I'm going to be very careful to make sure my decimals are right on top of each other. And you're going to have some extra digits sometimes, just like this. And what are we supposed to do? We're going to fill in the blanks with some zeros. Okay, so we're going to be adding these two this time. So we just go now straight through that process of adding each place value. And don't forget the most important thing, the decimal. Because without the decimal, this digit is 3,265. With the decimal, it's only 3, and then a little bit extra, this part here, 265 thousandths. That's a big difference. So that decimal is very important. You can never forget to put it in. All right, I'm going to see how you can do all by yourself. So here's 2 digits. I want you to line them up like you should. Feel free to pause this and go get a piece of paper. Turn it to the side. If you don't have graph paper, use lined paper. Line these up correctly and then go ahead and do your subtraction. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a story problem together. Now, Sakina had a birthday. Happy birthday, Sakina. And on her birthday, she received $60 from her family. She wants to buy a video game and a movie at the electronics store. The video game costs $38.35 and the movie costs $18.63. How much do the video game and movie cost together? How much money does she have left over? Okay, so now when we are adding and subtracting money, that is a very practical, real-world reason to use decimals. Okay, so this looks like a really big paragraph, but it just has 2 simple questions. The first one says, how much do the video game and the movie cost together? So we're going to do that one first. So here's our question, and here's how much each of these things cost. So what are we supposed to do with those 2 numbers? Well, our key word here is together, right? Together means we're going to put them together. We're going to add them. So we're going to go ahead and get out a piece of paper. Follow along with me, and we're going to write these digits down. Okay, so we know we're going to be adding them, so make sure we write that as part of our problem. So we would go ahead and put in our digits one at a time very carefully so we line up our place values just right. Those decimals are nice and straight on top of each other. Okay, and then this is an addition problem. All right, and then you simply just go through the steps of adding. 5 plus 3, 3 plus 6, don't forget your decimal, 8 plus 8, and then 1 plus 3 plus 1. And there is our answer. So how much do the video game and movie cost together? $56.98. Oh, right, so we have that part. So that was the answer to that question. Now the next question says, how much money does she have left over? Okay, so that's the part we're going to tackle next. How much money does she have left over? So we know that she got $60 for her birthday. That is so fun. And we know that the 2 things that she wants to buy all together cost $56.98. The question is asking us, how much money does she have left over? That's a clue word that we're going to be subtracting because she has $60 and she's going to spend $56.98. So she's going to give that away. So how much does she have left over? We're going to find out. So let's get out our piece of paper. Let's start lining up these 2 digits. And don't forget the decimal because she did not get $6,000 for her birthday, $60. And she did not spend $5,698. She spent $56.98. That decimal is very important. So now we're going to be subtracting these two. And you just simply go about subtraction like you would in every other problem. Once you have them lined up, that's really the tricky part. And it's really not that tricky. So I think you guys could do this. So you just start subtracting, borrowing if you need to, regrouping. 10 minus 8 equals 2, 9 minus 9, 0. Put down the decimal. 9 minus 6, 5 minus 5. Oh, we are finished. Okay, so how much money does she have left over? $3.02. We did it. Mission accomplished. You guys did awesome. All right, now you get to try one, and I'm going to have you try this one by yourself. Let's read it together first. Our friend Kamar earned some money by raking leaves in the neighborhood. One neighbor gave him $25.50. Another neighbor gave him $12.75. And his parents gave him $32.25. He really wants to purchase a new bicycle that costs $69.99 at the store. How much money did he earn raking leaves? Does he have enough money to buy the bike? You're going to answer these two questions for me. All right, you can do it. Take your time. Get your piece of paper, turn it on its side if you need to, line up your decimals, and take your time and do this. Okay, and another type of problem that we really need to cover is subtracting decimals with using models. Now, this was something that was sent to us teachers by the Virginia Department of Education. They analyzed the SOL test 2 years ago, and they said, oh, teachers, your students need practice with this. So guess what? That's what we're doing. You've already had lots of practice with writing the decimal value to models, so hopefully this next part really won't be that challenging. So we're going to take a look first at this top part. It says this model is shaded to represent one whole. This is just information for you to know that if you see a square all the way filled in, it would equal 1. Okay? So we need to know that. Now let's look at the bottom. This is our question. It says Model 1 and Model 2 have been shaded to represent a decimal. What is the difference between the decimals shaded in Model 1 and Model 2? Okay, so we have Model 1 and Model 2. Let's find those right here, Model 1 and Model 2. And our question says, what is the difference? And I think we know by now that that means we're going to be subtracting. But how do we know what to subtract? We have to find the decimal value of each of these. So let's start with Model 1. What does this represent? How can we write this as a decimal? Okay, so we're going to count how many of these squares are filled in. This whole thing has 100 squares, but not all of them are shaded. So we're going to count the shaded part. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and that's it. So 80. Okay, so we'll put that here, 80 hundredths, because 80 out of the 100 are shaded. All right, so let's look over here at Model 2. Let's count first all the lines that are completely filled in, because that's pretty easy counting by 10. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Okay, now let's count the line that wasn't all the way filled in. 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76. Okay, so that would be 76 out of 100, so 76 hundredths. And remember, we're going to find the difference, so we're going to line them up right on top of each other by those decimals, and we're going to subtract them, just like we would. And our answer would be 4 hundredths. All right. I hope you guys are ready because you get to do one all by yourself now. Okay, I'm going to get you started though. Okay, so let's look at the top. This is information for you. This model is shaded to represent one whole. So if it's all the way filled in, we know that it equals 1. Okay, so keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and look at the bottom because this is where the problem is. It says, what is the sum of model 1 and model 2 shown below? Okay, so we're going to look at model 1 and model 2. Okay, and here's model 1. And over here is model 2. It says, what is the sum? I think you guys know what that means by now. We're going to be adding. Okay, so we're going to be adding these two models. But first we need to know what they represent. So, okay, let's go ahead and look at model 1. I'll do this one with you. And then you are going to find the decimal value for model 2. And then you are going to find the sum of them both. So model 1 here, I see this square. And I remember what I just learned up here, that if it's all the way filled in, it's going to equal 1. So I already know that that part is 1. Okay, now I'm going to look at the other part that they show us. This one's not all the way filled in, so this is just going to be part. So that's going to be a decimal. Okay, so let me look here. I see, how many are filled in? I see 4 lines of 10, so 40. So it would look like this, 40 hundredths. And we're going to put those two together. So this decimal value of model 1 is 1 and 40 hundredths. So now it's going to be your turn to find the decimal value of model 2. This whole thing is model 2. What would that equal? And then you're going to find the sum of them both. And then your answer choices are down here. All right, take your time and do your very best. Okay, we are finished with Math Video 16 already. Don't close the video yet though, because remember you have to click on the smiley face and let me know what you think about adding and subtracting decimals. How was it for you? Was it challenging? Are you getting the hang of it? Okay, and there's also 2 Study Island lessons for you this week, so you'll get lots of great practice. Feel free to do those more than once to get stronger and stronger. And you can also always go to IXL.com for additional practice. You know, sometimes you feel like if you feel afraid, then that means you're a coward or you're not very brave. But you know what? Courage doesn't mean that you don't get afraid. Courage means that you don't let fear stop you. So if you get nervous when it comes to schoolwork or when it comes to taking your SOLs in the spring, I just want you to know that you are courageous because you're not going to let that fear stop you and you're going to keep trying your very best. And I am so proud of you. All right, everybody, I hope you have a wonderful week.